We got Dave from Washington. Hello, Dave. Dave is a theist. And here it says, Dave, you don't believe in a traditional God and that these debates make no sense to you. And you're asking us, why do you still have them? How you doing, Dave?
Good. I'm doing good. Hope you guys are doing good too.
Yeah, I was doing good.
The reason I bring it up, let me get this off speakerphone. And I got an ad. What's with that? Okay,
well,
I'm
while
off
you're doing
speakerphone.
Okay, great. But before you kind of get into it, I just maybe a couple clarifying questions just to kind of get a better idea of how you're describing yourself. You don't believe in a traditional God. Does that mean you believe in an untraditional God?
No, that means I have no proof one way or another if there is a God that created everything out of nothing.
Okay. Do you believe a God exists at all?
I believe there's a greater possibility a God exists.
Well, okay, so
let me phrase it this way. For lack of a better term, I call myself a realist. And that just means that I believe all things are possible until I can prove them otherwise.
Okay, well, I mean, I asked a question about what you think is, and you said, well, then you talked about possibilities. Let me ask one more time, and then we can maybe just move on because it's probably not entirely important. Which direction do you lean? If you had to give me a yes or no, which way do you lean? Does a God exist? Yes or no? Which way do you lean?
Let me put that another way. Are you convinced? Okay. Are you convinced that an actual deity really exists?
I'm convinced that best way to describe it would be, I believe in intelligent design for the universe.
Okay.
Okay. So one way or another, that would be a yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna interpret that as you lean towards yes, a God exists. If you don't object to that.
Okay.
So now,
define what your God is, since it's not traditional.
I don't know what the God would be because I haven't discovered him, haven't looked for him. He's not part of my life that I need to have, and he's not in control of my life.
In what sense, then, do you adhere to the what convinced you that there is a God? Then,
it's a long story, but I'll give you the short version. I proved to myself through my life experience that there is a soul, and if there is a soul, there's a greater possibility that a God would exist.
Okay, well, I've got a huge question about that then, because I've seen quite the opposite with regard to a soul. What gave you the idea that a soul exists?
Okay, that's where the long story comes in. About second grade, I had really bad skin allergies. And to get it so I can sleep, I had to I taught myself how to meditate. And on a whim one day, I decided, I'm sure you've heard of astral traveling.
Yeah, I was big into that during my transcendental meditation phase.
Oh, okay. So I decided I was going to try it. And it worked.
What do you mean it worked? Like, what worked?
It works.
In what way?
I sat up, looked around the room. I had it completely pitch black. Absolutely no light was in there. I sat up. I could see all the rooms completely clear. It was all ambient light, no light coming in from any place. And I turned around, saw myself laying on the sleeping bag I was laying on at the time. I fell over backwards as if somebody pushed me over. And when I opened my eyes real quick, my feet were sticking straight up in the air as if I had been sitting up, and I just went over backwards. And that was basically all I needed to prove there was a soul. I was able to meditate on it, separate myself, and that's all I needed. I haven't been able to hold that kind of concentration since then.
So a one-off then?
I used to, yeah, it was a one-off. I didn't need to try it anymore. I proved what I needed to prove. But like I say, that's all circumstantial evidence. You don't accept that, which is understandable.
It's not only
my life
subjective.
experience.
I've had that experience myself and came away from being convinced that there is no soul, because we have reasons for there being no soul. Now, we've had lucid dreaming. I've done a lot of research on transcendental meditation. I used to do it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've worked with a number of people who were into astral projection and so forth. And the frustrating thing for me was finding out that the vast majority of them are just doing lucid dreaming and then exaggerating that. I had a friend.
I know the difference. I've had lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Have to excuse me. I had COVID a while ago, so. But I've had lucid dreaming. I know what that's like. I can control the outcome of my dream. It's not a big deal.
That's not what I'm talking about
I can
now.
Control whether.
So to give you an idea, I wanted to put. I was working with this girl that was into TM as well back in high school, and so she said she's gonna leave her body that night, and she's gonna come visit me. And she doesn't need to know where I am geographically, because she can just find people by thinking about them. Okay, so we'll do that.
Yeah, I never got that far into it.
I go to spend the night at a friend's house. So I'm trying. I got into the occult seriously from a scientific perspective. I'm running as many experiments as I possibly can. And it would it would never be correct to do one thing one time and say, well, that's good enough and I don't need to do it anymore.
That's why I say I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. It proved it for me.
I understand that. So I am trying to make sure that this is all really real. So I go to spend the night at somebody else's house, and then just to make things more unusual, he's got two beds in his room. I turn one of them sideways, perpendicular to the other one. And we take one of the box springs off of his bed and we put it on the other bed. So now we've got one bed that's stacked 3 high and one that's only 1 high. And they're perpendicular to each other. And then he's got this big reel-to-reel tape machine against the wall, which becomes important later. Meet the girl in school the next day and ask her about the situation. How does she report? She accurately reported that I was not in my home, that I was sleeping at a different level from the other person in the room, that I was sleeping in a different direction from the other person in the room. And she said something that looked like a mechanical owl or a machine that looks like an owl, and that's perfectly what a reel-to-reel tape machine looks like. So I thought that was a very good test, and she passed with flying colors. However, that very person, no longer believes that she actually did that.
Well, that's like I say, it's a personal experience, and however they decide to interpret it is up to the individual.
That's the problem.
I mean, from what I've
even when you do something
read,
and even when they pass the test, and she did, I thought it was stellar. But she can't maintain belief in this anymore. She's she's full on atheist now, and gave up on transcendental meditation ages ago, before I did. Yeah,
and that's fine on her. I mean, but the military right now is doing tests, and they have been doing tests on the same kind of thing for years.
They used to. They gave up a long time ago.
No, they didn't. They still do, actually.
Well, they were never able to find anything substantive. They were never able to show that there's a there. Not one time.
Not publicly, no.
Okay, so secretly. Yeah, because we got privileged information.
Well, no, just not. Yeah, we got that all over the place. My dad used to work in a privileged area. So they don't tell you everything they got.
All right, so we're going to go talk about the conspiracies that they are involved with?
No, I'm not talking about conspiracies. All I'm saying
let's talk about intelligent design then. What leads you to believe in intelligent design?
From the research I've done just on my own, playing around with math a little bit, I'm no mathematician, trust me. A lot of the universe is made up in ratios. Like you got the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, the Pythagorean triangle, 3, 4, 5 triangle, right triangle. Everything is a ratio, and it can be defined that way. Somebody, somehow, and I won't say it's a God, but some intelligence, whether it's a physical intelligence or not, had to put something in there to make it work.
Why?
What?
I mean,
why? Yeah. Why do you say that? That's a huge leap.
You would have to show me proof positive that this can happen on its own, and there is no proof of that. You would have to show you
proof positive that there's a God?
Yeah, Dave, you're doing something called shifting.
Let me ask you.
Dave, you're doing something called shifting the burden. Hold on, Dave, hold on. You're doing something called shifting the burden of proof. You've made the claim that there must be an intelligence behind what we call mathematics. And we asked you, what reason do you have to think that? And you say, well, you have to prove me otherwise. That's called the shifting of the burden of proof. That you did nothing. You did nothing to support your claim by trying to get us to explain the opposite.
Yeah, and it's a double standard. You need proof positive.
Let me ask you a question.
You need proof positive that things can exist without being designed, which we can show you myriad examples, but they're never going to be good enough because double standard. You need proof positive that there is not a God, but you don't need any evidence whatsoever that there is one. You have what you experienced with action. You had the one experience that's good enough. I'm going to on that, and I'm not going to explore it any further.
And then, can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
What kind of atheist are you? Are you a strong atheist, a weak atheist, agnostic atheist, or which one are you?
I've been all of the above. Right now, I'm a strong atheist. God is not even a possibility.
Okay, that is a positive statement. So as a positive statement, let me finish. As a positive statement that there is no God.
That's not what I said.
That burden of proof falls on you. Yes, you did. You just did.
No, I didn't.
You said, say it again then.
In order to declare whether something is possible, you need to show a precedent or parallel or verified phenomenon indicating that such possibility exists. Do you have that?
All possibilities exist.
No, they don't. Monkeys cannot fly out of your ass. The cow cannot jump over the moon. There are some things that are not possible. We can't just say that anything is possible. We know of too many things that are not possible. We cannot say that anything is possible because it isn't. We have to be able to show whether it is possible in order to say that it is.
Okay. So you made a positive statement saying you're a strong atheist.
No, I didn't.
You said that.
While you're still trying to shift the burden of proof onto me, you are still trying to shift the burden of proof onto me. I just want you to know I can bear that burden. You cannot. You can push it onto me all you want to. I can bear it. When I said there's no possibility, I then put it to you. Show me the possibility. Show me a precedent or parallel or verified phenomenon indicating that a God is possible.
You said you were a strong atheist. What is the definition of a strong atheist?
Someone who is not an atheist, a general atheist, is someone who is not convinced that a God exists. A strong atheist is someone who is convinced that a God does not exist. A strong atheist is someone who is convinced that a God does not exist. It is not the statement that a God does not exist. Calling it a statement that God does not exist is a creationist tack. It's something theists use to try to shift the burden of proof because your religious belief depends entirely on logical fallacies. You cannot make a logical argument. You have to rely on logical fallacies to do that. So you are right now red herring, diverting the question. I asked you, can you show a precedent or parallel or verified phenomenon to show that a God is possible?
I guess, according to your definition, no. But
no, then there is not even a possibility for God. Our list of possibilities for God
burden of proof
at 0.
Okay, here's a burden of proof. A theist making a claim that a God is real and I can prove it. It is incumbent on the theist to show evidence. The same is true for a strong atheist. If an atheist says there is no God or gods, the atheist is required to back up his claim.
That's not what a strong atheist is. I just corrected you on that. I will correct you again. A strong atheist is someone who does not just lack a belief that a God exists, but we have a belief that no God exists. That is not the same thing as a statement that no God exists. Get it?
So you believe no God exists. You have faith in your belief?
Be fair to say. It's not right to say that I believe, because I don't believe anything.
You just said you believe. You just said you believed.
When believers use the word believe, when believers use the word believe, they mean it in a different context. I do not make believe. So I stray away from the word belief. What?
You have faith in your belief.
No.
You just said you believe there are no gods. Do you have faith in that belief?
I don't have faith in anything. I'm an epistemist. I reject faith as being the most dishonest and auto-deceptive position it is possible to have. The only way to make anything more dishonest than faith is to be a religious apologist.
No. Go look up the definition of faith.
So
accepting something as true without proof.
I wrote an article of about 3,000 words explaining what faith is according to every possible source I could find. If you'd like to see the 3,000-word article on that with all the citations, I can provide it. But do not tell me to go look up faith when I've already done the work you will never do.
I already did.
No, you didn't.
Faith is believing in something is true without evidence.
You're telling me things that are first level apologetics. I'm way beyond that.
Look,
don't tell me to catch up to first grade.
So if I can step in here for a moment, I was on my flight back yesterday from the Detroit area. I was reading this. This is an older book. It's called The Atheist Debater's Handbook. And actually, there was a paragraph in here that this conversation reminded me of. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it here because I think perhaps, Dave, this might answer your question pretty succinctly. And I found it here. Atheism can be more positively defined in the following way. We can properly claim to know that many things are not so if reasons have not been offered to support the claim that they are so. So in the case with God, having a strong atheist position about God is saying, I know there are no gods there because we don't see good reason to believe there are gods there. Going on. For example, I am to claim that I know my friend Frank is not at home precisely because there is no reason to believe he is at home. There is no noise coming from his house. The lights are out at the time when he's usually awake. His bed is empty and so forth. Everything seems to count for my belief and nothing against it. I could discover that I was mistaken, but the possibility of error exists for virtually any knowledge claim one might take. So in the case that we call, like in the case, I don't want to put words in Aron's mouth here, but perhaps this is a different way of viewing what his position is. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Aron. Aron's a strong atheist because he knows no God exists. And he supports that by saying we do not see.
To the same degree and for the same reasons that I know no leprechauns exist.
Yeah, we see massive lack of evidence for these claims, so we can claim to know that no gods exist.
It's not that we don't have evidence of them, it's that we also have evidence against it.
Yeah, we have evidence against many specific God claims. I would say if you were to ask me the question or winding back to, okay, are you a strong atheist or a weak atheist or a strong atheist, soft atheist? I would say it depends on the God claim. If it's just the most general, generic, vanilla deistic God, I would call myself an agnostic atheist or a weak atheist. But if you narrow down the definition down to something more specific like Christianity does, then I can call myself a hard or a strong atheist against that.
Okay, there's a reason I asked the question. And the reason is when my mom and I used to argue about God, no God, I'd take one side, she'd take the other, and then we'd reverse them to see what we came out with. I was doing this back in the 60s. the conclusion we came up to is nobody knows, nobody can prove either side of the argument. It's a waste of time argument.
You know what that tells you?
It tells me that it's a waste of time argument.
Yeah.
Atheists aren't right. Theists aren't right.
Falsified, then it provides no information. There's no reason. Having no reason to believe something is a pretty good reason not to believe it. Would you agree?
No, I don't.
No.
Having no information that you can rely on to prove something. If you use your flying spaghetti monster all the time, I kind of like that one. You have to. I've listened to you for about 5-6 years.
Yep, but I don't. I've been to Apostacon, I think twice, but I don't make reference to the flying spaghetti monster. I use different arguments. And by the way, I just looked up that article. If you want to look up on aronrod.com under the title "Faith Defined," it's I was wrong. I said it was a 3,000 word essay. It's actually 7,000 plus.
Okay.
And you're telling me to go look. There's every possible place that you could look up the definition of faith is already in that article, and you told me to go look it up.
Simple fact in the Cambridge Dictionary gives a different definition and the same definition.
As well, so you should look up my article because I've already done the homework you will never do.
No, I've read a lot of the stuff.
You told me to
but
go
anyways,
look it up.
Get back to it.
Every possible way you can from every source available.
So to get back to it, the reason I asked the question is back in the 60s, when we were discussing this stuff then, we had an atheist who absolutely did not believe in any gods whatsoever. You had an agnostic that wasn't sure, and at that time we called them Christians. You had Christians that believe there's a God. In the mid-70s, those definitions changed. The reason they changed is so the burden of proof is now on the theist.
Let me also refer you to another article that I wrote on that same website. If you don't believe in any gods, you're an atheist. That essay, about the same length as the one I just quoted to you, gives the history of atheism and the definition thereof, which never changed. Now, as a result of Thomas Huxley inventing the word agnostic, there were a handful of 20th century philosophers who did try to change the definition of atheism from a lack of belief in gods to the statement that there is no God. There were a handful of philosophers that tried to do that, and some philosophy students still carry that. But then other philosophers argued against that. Every single atheist organization there is uses the original definition that was already in Webster's 1828 dictionary before Huxley made up his other word. So the definition is today what it originally was in the 1700s when the first people to identify as atheists, both of them, wrote down what an atheist is as someone who does not believe in a God. And then both of these guys came up with a different word for people who also believe there is no God. Don't tell me about this when I've already done the work.
Yeah, don't think I did the work. I went to the atheist website, and that's where I got these different definitions.
I gave 2 citations for multiple 1,000-word essays that were heavily researched. I can show those. You can read them right now. All you can do is take me back to when you were in elementary school talking to somebody that doesn't matter. While you're telling me, this is the thing I'm upset about, you're telling me to do the research you've never done. And you're showing me that you've never done it. You have no idea.
I'm telling you that your research could be wrong.
No.
You have no proof that your research is right.
Research is wrong, and we can prove that. I have already done so. You said that the definition of atheism has changed. No, it fucking didn't. And I've already proven that it didn't.
No, you gave me your citation that it didn't. So therefore, you don't know if it did or didn't.
I am right. Look up what the definition of atheism is in the Webster's 1828 dictionary and see that I am right again. Don't
See,
tell me to do the
I
work
doubt
I've
it, but
already done when you've never done it. That is hugely insulting.
no, actually, like I said, I'm about, well, the only thing we got in common is we're born on the same day. About 10, 12 years apart or more, almost 20 years apart. So
I'm sure you probably got other things in common than that. So, so Dave, I think we might be at the end of the conversation here, but so from what I've gathered, you are a theist. You just believe in a very general God. While the debate doesn't make sense to you, the reason it makes sense to us is because I think it is important that what people believe is as accurate as possible. I think it's important that we should remove irrationality and bad logic out of all of our processes because that affects what we do in the world, how we vote, how we do, treat others and all that. So, and you can nitpick over whether we have like the ability to definitively declare God as not existing or not. That doesn't really matter. The conversation is still important.
Well, that's, I guess, on my final statement would be the fact that we're here on this planet, in my opinion, to make the world a better place. And I have told Christians, other people of other religions, how I believe, and they have no problem with it.
That's fine. But
other
here's the thing.
People
so
apparently do have a problem with it.
I don't
so
care
Dave,
what somebody believes. All that matters is why they believe it.
It doesn't
and Dave,
matter.
there's a lot of people. Dave, there's a lot of people.
Prove it.
It does matter why you believe it.
Dave,
Say
it
that
is
again?
important. Go ahead, Aron. Ask him again.
No, that is the only thing that matters. Why you believe it. Because your reason that you give should compel me whether I should believe it. I need to consider, is his reason valid that I need to change my mind? Because I am not a believer, so I can change my mind if given good reason. But after 30 some odd years of arguing with theists every day, my atheism gets stronger and stronger because there is no argument for theism. None. Not one that is logically valid.
So where did I try and change your mind?
When I asked you for the reasons and all you could give me was false definitions, and then the insulting thing that set me off when you tell me to go look it up, as if I haven't dedicated my life to this.
Oh, yeah, I've listened to you before. I mean,
then you should have known better than to say that, shouldn't you?
No, because I don't believe most of what you say anyway. That's neither here nor there.
Like, choose anything that I say that you think you can prove to be wrong. Let's compare it to anything you say that you think is both true and supportive of your position. You know where we're going to be? We're going to be in a position where I show that I am right about the facts and that you are full of shit. That's what it's going to be.
Okay, well, I can ask you one question, see if you got an answer for it.
Possible absurdity, asserted as if it was a matter of fact, which is dishonest. And then you're going to criticize me over shit that I actually know and can show to be correct.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. Is the evolutionary tree complete?
Can't be complete.
Huh?
It can't be complete.
Exactly.
We'd have to have every individual. We would have to have every individual that ever existed in order for it to be complete.
Is there a possibility that a unicorn exists?
What?
Is there a possibility that something like a unicorn exists?
We know that unicorns existed.
Okay.
They just aren't what you think they are.
I know what they are. I mean, I don't know the name of them offhand without my notes in front of me.
No, you don't.
Oh. But that's a phrase I've heard from a lot of atheists about, I got a pink magical unicorn in my kitchen. So
sounds like something you're going to hear a lot. I bet the people that you were talking about, though, we're not studying the Bible to understand that what the phrase they're using for unicorn is not much to my surprise, it is not Rhinoceros unicornis, which is the Latin name for the Indian rhino, which fits Job's description really well, actually, when you think about it. But the unicorn they were talking about there was a mistranslation. It actually referred to an animal with two horns, something closer to, but not identical to, the aurochs.
Okay. So if that's the case, is there any case where a single-horned animal
let's just focus
could
on
have
one
looked
thing.
like a corn?
Let's focus on one thing.
Well,
You said, is the phylogenetic tree complete? You understand that the reason it cannot be complete is because we would have to have absolutely every single species that ever lived, and you understand that most of them have to die, right?
You betcha.
Right. So that's why it can't be complete. Is it accurate? Definitely. Definitely yes. And we can prove
some people are questioning that now, and they aren't.
Some people who don't know any better do want to question, yeah. But if they're looking at facts and data, then we can prove the point. Is it accurate? Yes, absolutely it is.
Okay, what's the oldest DNA ever found?
The oldest DNA ever found, I think it was from a woolly rhino from 21,000 years ago. But you understand that
mammoth.
Carolus Linnaeus.
It was a mammoth from a tooth about 2.5 million years ago.
I don't think so. But even if there was DNA at that age, if there was any DNA to be found, you'd have like a codon. You wouldn't have enough to do anything with. Not that it matters, because you're trying to distract from the point. You're trying not to know things. This is what you have to do to defend faith. You have to make sure you remain ignorant. On phylogenetics, when Carolus Linnaeus pieced together the phylogenetic tree, he was a Christian, a creationist himself. He lived a century before Darwin. When he pieced together the phylogenetic tree and realized that it was a family tree of a descendant hierarchy, he had no way to explain that. Mm-hmm. He knew that this could only be what?
Darwin had the same thought.
No, Darwin did not have the same thought. Darwin answered the dilemma. Carolus Linnaeus put out a challenge to the scientific community, and Darwin answered it 100 years later.
Yeah. So on the Galapagos, did Darwin discover evolution, or did he discover adaptation?
What is the definition, the biological definition of the word adaptation? I suggest, since you are a beginner who doesn't know dick about jack, then maybe you should go to an introductory primer for beginners like yourself. In this case, I would suggest Berkeley University Evolution 101. The definition they give for adaptation is that it is evolution directed by natural selection. So when you want to say, is it evolution or is it adaptation? You're saying literally, is it evolution or is it evolution by natural selection? You don't know what words mean. Why don't you figure out a clue before you get into a discussion like this?
What is the difference then?
What's the difference between
all the birds on the Galapagos were finches, all those birds can still mate with each other. They just have different species.
But it wouldn't matter if they
everything I read by Darwin said they could.
Evolution is
they may not.
You understand what biodiversity is?
Yeah.
How one original species becomes 2, becomes 4, 8, 16.
How did the original species start then?
What do you mean? The original finch? I did
the original.
The evolution of finches. Do I need to refer that to you, because it kind of in depth?
No, I'm talking about life itself.
What?
I'm talking about life itself. Where did it start? How did it start?
It always has to go to how did life start, because you realize that, hey, he knows what he's talking about the phylogenetic tree and where all these birds come from, and that finches are all passerines.
You're dodging the question.
Passerines are all neonates, and neonates, along with the paleonates, are all still in the aviary, and that aves are all a subset of Maniraptoran dinosaurs. I can't get into that. Let's just all jump all the way back to the only thing that I think that science doesn't have an answer. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that science doesn't have an answer, and we actually do have an answer. But if you can't understand
what's the answer?
You're definitely not
What's
going
the
to understand
answer?
something really complex like the origin of life. I
Dave,
suggest
the
Was it
answer
one
is
lightning strike on a mud
take
puddle?
a step before you run
Come on.
Dave.
all face.
What?
Dave, you gotta stop and look at what you're asking here, okay? Evolution, the only thing the theory of evolution covers is how life changes over time. That's the entire
Yeah.
scope of it, okay?
And
You're asking how
according
did
to
life stop,
evolutionists,
Dave,
okay,
stop for a moment. Slow your roll. Listen to me. Evolution scoped only to how life changes over time. You've now asked a question about how did life begin, which is outside of that scope. So you're
not
like,
really.
we call it, and
Yes,
yeah,
really.
it is absolutely. You're
Entirely
asking.
different
You're
topic.
asking. You're trying to compare how a car operates to how a car was built.
Yeah,
You are outside the scope of the subject there.
I can answer this one too, but it is a separate topic. It is unrelated, an entirely different set of processes than evolution. Evolution is much easier. If evolution is beyond you, abiogenesis will be way beyond you.
Okay,
The
so
hypothesis, Dave,
evolution says
Dave,
evolution says
Dave,
that all.
Tell me what evolution
Dave,
says. We got to hear this.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I just want to drive
According
this
to what
point
I've
home.
read,
Hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta step in here. Dave, we gotta drive this point home to you, okay? To make sure that we don't appear like we're dodging your question, scientists use the hypothesis of abiogenesis, and they have some sciences to show that this hypothesis is supported. And there are indications that this occurred at some point. That's the support of how life began. I am fine to say that abiogenesis is a hypothesis at this point. That's fine. That does not at all. Yeah. But that does not at all diminish the theory of evolution, because that is a completely different topic of discussion.
Yeah, and
now
evolution, by the way, is the one. Hold on. Wait. You need to know this. Evolution is the one and only explanation of biodiversity. Period. Scientific or otherwise.
All right. So go ahead, Dave, and Dave, you can bring up one. Dave, go ahead and bring up one more point, and then we're going to have to move on after it. But go ahead and give us your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are the whole point of my call to begin with is the fact that neither the atheist side or the theist side, regardless of what your religion is, can prove a God exists, and therefore, basically, the whole argument is moot. Let people believe what they want to believe.
Wrong.
Well, you got to quit saying wrong. You don't know that.
We disagree with you there.
If you want to say that something exists, it is incumbent upon you to show the truth of it, to show the evidence that leads to that conclusion. If you can't justify your assertion, we can evoke Hitchens' razor, that since positive claims require positive evidence, that what is posited without evidence may be dismissed
without evidence.
Okay, so my advice to all theists out there is quit calling your channel.
Instead of neither side can prove, what you're saying is you made up a thing you can't justify, and that also cannot be disproved, but it also can't be supported. So you are completely in an indefensible position that you're determined to hold anyway.
Okay. Where'd math come from?
Oh my God. It didn't come from anywhere. In order for a thing to exist, it has properties.
So Dave,
did we discover math or invent it?
It doesn't have properties, which is why God doesn't exist.
And
Dave,
that's a fallacy.
We're going to end. We're going to end. We're going to go ahead.
You guys.
Dave, we're going to go ahead and end the call here because multiple times now, where we're kind of dialing in on an answer to your question, you jump to a different subject altogether. You make a hand wave to something that you think we can't explain. I'm muting you now. You make a hand wave at something else you think we can't explain. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to you now. I'm going to hit the drop button. Thank you, Dave, for calling in. Anyway, moving on.
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month red oak habit, and you're gonna. I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.